Hey guys, my name is Kate Berlin, and if there's one thing in life that I absolutely adore, it's having conversations with my friends over tea. So I figured I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to do exactly that. Every week I'm going to invite my friends to tell their unique stories and share it with you. Hope you like it, hope you subscribe. Bye! Alright, hey guys! So this is our very first interview, very first guest. It's my dear friend Brianna Sturm, and so I thought of Bri as my first guest because although she thinks that she has no sort of
nothing to say,
no place to be here. Last night she was like, I feel like you should find someone else to be your first guest. I actually think otherwise because I met Bri in my yoga teacher training, and the reason I asked her to be on here as my first guest is because she just recently kind of took a really big leap of faith, and I thought that was super inspiring. So walk us through like kind of your mindset of how that progressed.
So just out of like love and wanting to help the women in my life and like my coworkers and my friends that were getting pregnant, I just started doing research online and looking into prenatal yoga moves and things that I could teach them to do. So I did start doing that, and I started just like showing different women in my life, poses that they could do if they were having sort of different pains or ailments through pregnancy. And from there, the interest really just grew. And so I ended up finding a lady out in California that did a yoga teacher training. During that process, when I was researching the prenatal yoga, the doula idea sort of just came back and was reintroduced to me, and I was like, yes, this is just, it feels like such a good fit, So I was like, just do it. Stop being so indecisive about everything in your existence and just do it. And so I signed up and went through the process, and yeah, so here I am now.
Yeah. Just for the people that don't know, like, what is a doula?
So a doula is the physical and emotional support of a pregnant woman as she goes through the journey. And so doula, the word itself, I think is Greek, and it means woman servant. So you're there basically just to serve this woman and carry her through the process.
Just the literal translation of it is like, okay,
I'm a servant.
I'm a woman servant.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense. So if I'm a husband to a wife and she comes to me and she's like, I want a doula, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm offended because I'm your husband. And I don't understand why you just wouldn't want me as your support. Why do you want a doula? What would be like the pleading case?
So your emotions can definitely just like get the best of you and just wear you down. So to have someone like a third party sort of come in and just be the support for your wife and for you, who isn't necessarily as emotionally invested in the outcome of it all. I may have known the birthing mother for a few months at that point. It's not like we have years and years of history. So that's number one. Also, a lot of parents go into having their first child and they really don't have a background on, just how everything works and hospitals and medications and the different ways that they can deliver, and you can have a home birth or you can have a birth center birth. And just all of the different things that sort of go into it and things that you need to look out for. And doulas, they're trained, they have done so much research, hopefully on their own, just to know all of the different options and things that, they can teach you to look out for, and just to make your birth more of the experience that you're wanting.
Like I have a daughter, and when I went through our journey and in the delivery room, I mean, I felt like completely alone because we just weren't understanding the process. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. The only kind of resource we had was like what you see in movies, right? And so I was fortunate enough to have watched The Business of Being Born, so I felt prepared, right? But that's only like a tiny little bit of your preparedness. And so once we were thrown into it, I did see the model of how the Western world treats like birthing mothers. But when you're in it, like in pain and going through it and not eating, like you can't even think.
Right.
So I felt like I wanted so badly to have a natural birth, and I wanted so badly to go through like my process, the process that we wrote out in our birth plan. And then once we were kind of siphoned into like the Western medical birthing process, it was like done. Like there was no turning back. And so I ended up
like
having
a conveyor belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you're in it, you're like done.
Yeah.
You cannot step off.
Absolutely.
So we did like the Pitocin, we did the what is it called?
Epidural.
Yeah, we did the Pitocin, we did the epidural, and then finally I had to have a C-section. You know, but I can now, looking back, and I'm so fortunate that I had a C-section, and you know, like every single birth just is beautiful and perfect in its own way, and is going to go the way that it goes.
Absolutely.
But I was so, now looking back, I see all the ways where if we had somebody that could have intervened and like literally put us down and said, is this really what you want? Like, these are your other options. It would have saved us so much. Or even just, if the final answer is, yeah, let's just like leave me on this conveyor belt, let's just go, to have someone else kind of assist you in that feeling that you feel while you're going through it would have been so helpful and so great.
And I love that you said that. Every single birth, no matter how it happens, is beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in you know, how it ends up.
For sure. How do we switch where we are today and make it normal for people to be like, let's get a doula? So when someone is pregnant, it's not a granola thing to do. It's just like the normal thing to do.
It's obviously it's such an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You know, I would say the majority of women in America are just like, obviously I'm doing a hospital birth. You know, there's really no other option. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I get that. Like, I feel like before I sort of entered into this world, it was just, that made sense. So it's an uphill battle, but I think it's just getting the education out there, and it's going to be a slow process, just one by one as we sort of change the story of each individual woman. Primally speaking, a woman gives birth in the middle of the night when she knows that there aren't, you know, there's not a lot of danger, and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's dark and it's soothing, and now you go into a hospital and it's like bright lights, bright beaming lights, all the noises,
people running,
people coming in and out of the room that you have never met before, and there you are just completely exposed, and so your body just feels all of that, and it just it closes up. So everything in that environment leads you to having to be induced, you know, like your body isn't doing it on its own because you're already just uncomfortable. So let's induce her. Okay, you know, she's got to this point now, and now she's completely exhausted from being induced in an unnatural way. And now you're going farther down the conveyor belt of, okay, now the C-section is probably something that because we don't want to stress out the baby anymore. And this is how we end up with a 33% C-section rate in the United States.
If you were talking about like information and education, right? So I feel like we have no lack of there is no lack of information. There is, like, we're on a daily basis bombarded with all these different types of information. So what would you say to someone who's like going through this journey and is now saying, okay, like, I'm willing to learn, so I'm now going to do my research, and then now is like bombarded with all these different sides of the research? How would you say, like, what is your advice on like weeding out?
Really just follow your intuition, you know, follow that. Like, I think it's Eastern philosophy that your gut is your first brain, right? And then it's your heart, and then your actual brain is your, so use that filtration system as like
have it start here.
Yeah, that gut instinct, you know, which makes so much sense. We always say that, like, you know what's right for you. And then also just to find your tribe of people that you trust. Find those people that you really value their opinions, and know that they have their, you know, your best interest at heart, and just really rely on them to sort of help you manage this and make your decisions. And
like, you also do Birthf, right?
Yeah.
So what is Birthf?
So Birthf was started out in LA, and it was started by a female chiropractor. And it started actually as just a blog a few years back. And she's also a CrossFit instructor. So during her occupation lent her to working with pregnant women daily.
Okay.
And she was noticing that after pregnancy, women just really weren't healing properly. They were experiencing all of the things that all the trauma and, all the things that come from having a baby, and they're experiencing it for years and years after. And she just knew fundamentally that's not the way it should be. Women were so quick to just jump back into their daily lives and their workout routines and not healing from within.
Mm-hmm.
So she really just started a blog, and it kind of took off, and all these other women chiropractors that were involved in, working with pregnant women
Mm-hmm.
jumped on board, and they were like, we have to make this into something bigger. Like, let's do something with this. So now we're up to, I think it's like 70 regional directors across the United States.
Mm.
So I was just named the St. Pete Regional Director.
Yay!
Yeah. And so we have different programs designed for pregnancy as well as postpartum. And so it's literally just a resource at its core. It's a resource for pregnant women to navigate through this time. And they like to say they're where the hippie meets science. So they have a very holistic view on how a woman should birth their child, but they also understand the facts and the research and all the studies that have been done. And we also, value Western medicine when it's needed.
Okay.
But it's just taking that Western part out
Yeah.
as the majority. So my first postpartum series for BirthF kicks off May 2nd. And it's every Wednesday and Saturday morning for an hour each, and it's a 4-week series. And it's going to be at Deep Blue Fitness. It's right behind Green Bench Brewery.
I learned a lot, so thank you for taking the time and explaining it to us, and I look forward to seeing what else is gonna come from this. But it's just been full steam ahead for Bri. Every time she's like, I'm doing this, I'm like, what? How are you doing all this stuff? So I'm super excited to see where this is all gonna go.
Thank you.
Yay! Okay, now we cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.